So with that situation obviously getting out of control already as well, the mayor there, Oscar Leeser, declaring a state of emergency for El Paso that went into effect this morning.
An immigration enforcement organization says the announcement from the Biden administration that it is setting up migrant processing centers in Latin America is nothing more than optics. Chad Groening has more.
The Biden administration has announced that it intends to establish immigration processing centers throughout Latin America, through what it claims will help slow down the number of migrants coming to the U.S. Senior administration officials say the regional processing centers in Guatemala and Colombia should be up and running in the coming weeks. And other hubs could be in Ecuador and eventually Costa Rica. The U.S. will screen migrants at these centers and determine if they qualify for entry before the migrants can try to move onto the U.S. southern border. Ira Melvin is the media director for the Federation for American Immigration Reform, or FAIR. He says this is not about stopping the illegal alien invasion.
Basically, the plan that came out is just expedited processing and release and expanded use of parole. So it's just another effort for the administration to manage search of people rather than to stop the search of people.
Melvin says that Biden claims credit for reducing illegal immigration when he's actually rerouting it.
Just announced his re-election bid. He understands that what is going on at the border is very popular. And so what they're trying to do is remove the bad optics while maintaining essentially the same policy.
The DHS expects to initially screen at least 5,000 or 6,000 migrants a month at the new processing centers. I'm Chad Groening.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy spoke before the Israeli parliament today as part of his first foreign trip as Speaker. He said the visit marks 75 years of ties between the nations and a path to move forward for the next 75.
It was President John F. Kennedy who said it best. Israel was not created in order to disappear. Israel will endure and flourish. It can be neither broken by adversity nor demoralized by success.
A 12-year-old student was sent home from school after he refused to change his T-shirt. Liam Morrison, a 7th grader at Nichols Middle School in Middleborough, Massachusetts, tells us about the message on his shirt that administrators found so offensive.
On that Tuesday morning, I was taken out of gym class to sit down with 2 adults for what turned out to be a very uncomfortable talk. I was told that people were complaining about the words on my shirt, that my shirt was making some students feel unsafe. What did my shirt say? 5 simple words. There are only 2 genders. Nothing harmful, nothing threatening, just a statement I believe to be a fact. I have been told that my shirt was targeting a protected class. Who is this protected class? Are their feelings more important than my rights?
Everything from cancer drugs to mild antibiotics are in short supply as of late.
High demand, lingering supply chain issues, and reliance on pharmaceutical ingredients in other countries. It's all contributing to drug shortages here. The University of Utah Drug Information Service says there are current shortages of 301 drugs. Manufacturing issues and high demand have hurt the production of things like amoxicillin, Adderall, and the diabetes drug Ozempic. But cancer drugs are also in short supply. Some are generic, so manufacturers don't stock up as they're not moneymakers. In some cases, it's manufacturing problems, though. Many cancer drugs are injected, and according to a recent Homeland Security Senate Committee report, injectable drugs are most likely to experience shortages as we rely on China and India for many of the ingredients. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
For American Family News, I'm Musty Key.
Hi, this is Miki Addison. Join me, my husband Will, and our kids for AFA at the Ark. We'll also be joined by Wesley and Walker Wildman.
今日エクササイズどうだった？エクササイズどうだった？
一番優しいおばさんのレッスンね。
あ、今日は。じゃあ全部12時までで。
あのおばさんよく来るね。
うん。
年配のおばさん。
ああ。で最後まで残ったんでしょ？
片付けたよ。
片付けた、終わって。椅子は持ち上げられなくてそのままにしとけばいいから。
椅子も他の人が椅子はやってくれたみたい。
そうそうそう。椅子は体が大きい人が持ち上げてくれるから、自分で無理だったら椅子は別にしなくてもいいわけ。ただ道具とかあるじゃない、ロープとか、あれ 同じとこに入れるだけだから。サウナ入ったの？
入って。
じゃあ今日良かったじゃない。お父さんくらいの年の人だよね、みんな。元気だよ。
白人のおじさんが椅子に座っていたら来てた。83歳、同じ年だねって言ってさ、話していたおじさんがいたよ。
友達になればいいよ。そしたら向こうの家にさ、招待してくれてさ。
そこまで考えない。まだしないし、そんな。
でもこれ第一歩だよ。だんだんとさ、友達になっていくんだよ、それが。自分の名前キムテルってどういうわけ？英語の名前キム？キムっていうのは韓国人のラスネーム。他に書いたらいいよ。なんかミッキーにすればミッキー。キムテルだからミッキーでいいよ、ミッキー。
ミッキーの方がいいね。
ミッキーって言えばいいよ、ミッキー。
いい名前だよ。
キミテルでしょ、ミッキー。
いい名前だよ。
ミッキーでいいよ。
His status, if you will, or his where he is. He says, "I am poor and needy. Hasten to me. Come to me, O God. You are my help and my deliverer." So, I think it's important that as believers, as Christians, that we recognize and confess our place before the Lord and our a need. You know, David's not shy about his need for God. He is upfront and honest about his deep need for God as his helper and his deliverer. So I think a dose of humility is good for us to recognize our placement before the Lord, which is a placement really of humility and in desperation is where we are in need of Almighty God's help. So that's what David highlights there in Psalm chapter 70. Part of what he highlights. Hey, we've got a couple of minutes.
収蔵を見てさ、30代ぐらいの白人のおばさんから、いいシューズだねって言ってやって。
今日来てたの、若い人も。
いや、一人いたよ。
若い人が。
35、6じゃない。
シニアと一緒に。
So we've got our March of Life conference in July that we want you to come to. So registration is going to close in about 2 weeks. May 12th is when registration is going to close there. So we need those of you procrastinators out there.
忘れ物ないね。どっかも。
To go ahead and register for our Marriage Family Life conference in July 6th through the 8th. AFA.net/event. So that's going on in July. And then in October, myself, my brother Wesley, and the Addisons, Will and Mickey, and our families will all be at the Ark Encounter in Kentucky. We'll be there for about a day and a half, having some events together with our supporters, with our audience here at the Ark Encounter. So you're not going to want to miss that either. So if you live in that area, you know there's a lot of states couple states that really intersect there. But if you live in that region, or if you don't, you just want to fly over or drive over, that's great too. You can also find a link to that event at afa.net/events. Once again, AFA at the Ark is the name of the event. I'll be there with my wife and children, and the Addisons, and my brother Wesley and his wife and children will be there. So we'll all be at AFA at the Ark in October. We do have limited availability there just because of the size of the facility, and we want to make it much more of a personal event, an intimate event where we can interact with our audience and interact with you. So I think we're looking at about 80 to 100 families, so about 400 people total is our max there in
at AFA at the Ark. But all of these events you can find at afa.net/events. afa.net/events. Now, the story I want to get to this segment, and then we have a guest in the second and the third, but the story I want to get to now has to do with what's going on our southern border and the whole topic of illegal immigration. And this is a rather new development, at least in the grand decades-long story of our southern border and federal government just not wanting to get a hold and a grip of what's going on down there, and completely unsecure, by the way. But this has to do with these minors, what they classify unaccompanied minors. These are people 18 or below that are coming across the southern border, and they don't have a parent, or they don't have a close family member or relative there to accompany them to basically carry them across the southern border. So that's where the term unaccompanied minors comes from. But what happens to these kids once they get into the U.S. has been kind of a mystery. I mean, we know that the Department of Homeland Security apprehends them and they go through processing, but after that, it's just kind of a mystery. At least it has been for your average person, for your average citizen. And we're starting to get a little more light shed on this whole situation. I want to play a clip just to kick us off here. This is there was a House hearing, and then, by the way, this is important. You can say, well, it doesn't matter whether Republicans or Democrats are in charge in Washington. It's all bad. They're not doing much good at all. Well, I can't really argue with that, but I can, and here's why. If the Republicans didn't control the House of Representatives, this hearing wouldn't exist. So we wouldn't find all this. There would be no whistleblowers. There would be no sworn testimony. All right, so that does count for something. Okay, I'm not, yay Republicans, no, but this stuff wouldn't happen. We wouldn't have this news story had it not been for this hearing. So there is something to be said there. But this whistleblower from the Health and Human Services, Tara Lee Rodas. Tara Lee Rodas is a whistleblower. She testified before Congress, and listen to how she outlines this whole operation of unaccompanied minors and what the federal government does here. Let's listen.
I have to confess, I knew nothing about their suffering until 2021, when I volunteered to help the Biden administration with the crisis at the southern border. As part of Operation Artemis, I was deployed to the Pomona Fairplex Emergency Intake Site in California to help HHS, Office of Refugee Resettlement, reunite children with sponsors in the United States. I thought I was going to help place children in loving homes. Instead, I discovered that children are being trafficked through a sophisticated network that begins with recruiting in home country, smuggling to the U.S. border, and ends when ORR delivers a child to a sponsor. Some sponsors are criminals and traffickers and members of transnational criminal organizations. Some sponsors view children as commodities and assets to be used for earning income. This is why we are witnessing an explosion of labor trafficking. Now, whether it's intentional or not, it could be argued that the United States government has become the middleman in a large-scale, multi-billion-dollar child trafficking operation that is run by bad actors seeking to profit off of the lives of children. As for me, my interest is the safety of the children. I do not view this as a political issue. I view this as a humanitarian issue.
So that's a sworn testimony by the whistleblower that used to work for the Department of Health and Human Services, and very recently, by the way, under the Biden administration, she was deployed down to Texas to help process these young children. Listen to these numbers. All right, in fiscal year 2020, so basically under the Trump administration, in fiscal year 2020, there were 33,000 unaccompanied minors, unaccompanied children that arrived at the border and were processed. Listen to this. In fiscal year 2021, the next year, 146,000. 146,000. Then in fiscal year 2022, 152,000. Here's where we are this year, just year to date. So far in fiscal year 2023, there have been more than 70,000 encounters of unaccompanied children. And So this is astonishing. Here's the hoax. Here's the lie. A lot of people want to think that the majority of these children that cross the border alone or with a smuggler or with a coyote, they do so and they get paired with a family member when they get here. And that's just not true. Remember the media was just getting all upset about, kids in cages under the Trump administration. Oh, kids in cages. Well, no, they were in a processing facility where they had to have some kind of physical barriers up to control the flow of people. I mean, you can go to a football game and go, people in cages. No, that's a perimeter fence that tells you where the football facility starts. It's not a cage. It's absurd. And they ran the kids in cages hoax out there and got everybody all riled up. Kids in cages. No. There's no kids in cages. We're not animals. All right? We're the best country on the planet. And we got the best living conditions even for illegal immigrants. So, no, there's no kids in cages. There's facilities that have fencing around them. But nonetheless, here's the shocking part of it, if this isn't already shocking enough. Of the several 100,000 unaccompanied children that have crossed the border under Biden's watch, 85,000 of them, the government cannot contact. They haven't been able to make contact with 85,000 of these young children. And there's multiple reasons here, but that statistic alone should be shocking. And this is also where they're not being honest with us when they think that they're keeping track of these folks. Not just the children, but the adults as well. I mean, we have no idea where these people are. We have no idea. Well, we're giving them cell phones. Well, number one, what on earth is the government doing giving illegal immigrants cell phones? All right, number one, why is the government in that business? Well, we're trying to track them. Well, you think these people are dumb enough to keep that phone on them if they want to get arrested by ICE and deported? No. Who's going to keep a government phone on them if they have any concern about being deported, or maybe they're caught up in illegal activity? Maybe they themselves are like a drug smuggler. They're not going to hang on to this government device that you can track. No, these people are smarter than that. I mean, just the act alone of getting across the southern border is no easy day. And I'm not saying that it's hard or we make it hard. I mean, we've got the gates wide open, folks. But I'm just saying, if these people, mostly the adults, have the wherewithal and the money to get smuggled across the southern border, I mean, they're at least, doing the math. So they're not going to hang on to this government tracking device and say, yeah, here I am. I'm a criminal. Come get me. I'll show up anywhere you want me to show up. No. Look at the court records. How many of these people show up at their court date? Very few. A very small percentage of these illegal immigrants actually show up at their court date when it is appointed. So we don't have a handle of this situation, and we need to find out where these kids are. I mean, this whistleblower said that basically the U.S. government's the middleman in this human smuggling operation. Folks, this is some sick stuff. And this is all going on under the Biden administration, and they don't have a problem with it. Who needs to know where the kids are? This is a nightmare that must be addressed. We'll be back.
Blessed are you when people insult you and persecute you and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. My name is Abraham Hamilton III, and this is the Hamilton Minute. Tucker Carlson was surprisingly ousted from Fox News the Monday after he gave a rousing speech for the Heritage Foundation, during which he argued the outdated binary political lens is woefully inadequate to confront the issues of our day. He stressed that abortion zealotry and the transgenderism movement are theological phenomena, Political rhetoric is insufficient to confront and defeat objective evil. Reports are swirling now that Carlson's spiritual talk made Rupert Murdoch, Fox Corporation CEO, uncomfortable. Is that why they fired their most popular host?
Listen each weekday from 5 to 6 p.m. Central for the Hamilton Corner with Abraham Hamilton III, public policy analyst for the American Family Association.
This is Raising Godly Girls Minute with Patty Garibay of American Heritage Girls.
Smartphone overuse in adolescence has risen sharply over the last 3 years, sparking a distancing effect through a behavior known as phubbing. Yes, you heard that correctly, phubbing. This is a combination of snubbing another person by opting to look at a smartphone rather than interact. So even if your girl doesn't have social media, if her friend does, the alienation effect fuels loneliness and disconnection. As a Christ follower, your girl's calling as a friend is one that begs relationship, eye contact, and shared experiences. If she's feeling alienated by others, help her to identify and thank God for a trusted friend who is available, even if it's only one friend. If she's opting for the phone over the friend, it may be time for a phonectomy when possible.
Want to learn more? Read about empowering girls through the love of God at raisinggodlygirls.com.
Hey friends, it's Jessica Peck, Dr. Nurse Mama, as your 1-minute parenting coach. Do you feel like your teens don't ever listen to you? Teen brains work like a police scanner, monitoring for conversation about them. They often hear words of pain. Why is she always so moody? He's so irresponsible. She just makes things miserable around here. Are you ever going to clean your room? Teen translation, I'm a very undesirable person. It takes 5 positive affirmations to counter each negative comment. So instead of initiating dead-end conversations, try a compliment in front of others, even for the smallest thing. Over time, you'll build a treasure trove of affirmation that will counterbalance words when you're not at your best. I'll see you on the Dr. Nurse Mama podcast here on American Family Radio.
At the Core podcasts are available at AFR.net. Now, back to At the Core on American Family Radio.
Welcome back to the program At the Core here on American Family Radio. Walker Wildman here with you today on the program. On this topic that I was covering in the last segment, this is very scandalous what's going on with the Biden administration, these unaccompanied children. So we'll continue to track that. And that was a testimony from an HHS whistleblower. Her name is Tara Lee Rodas, Rodas, and she worked down in Texas for the Department of Homeland Security and Health and Human Services on this situation. So very